Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin. Today we're unboxing the Lenovo ThinkPad L390 Yoga. So what this pretty much is, you can think of it as kind of a 13-inch, almost like an X1 Yoga, but a little bit lower end. And it's a pretty nice device. Obviously it's not as nice as the X1. The X1 is the premium lineup. This is more mainstream. So what this has in it, it's got 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs SSD. You configure it obviously with up to 32 gigs of RAM. It's got a 1080p display, 13 inches though rather than 14 inches, which is what the premium comes in. And it's going to be lacking a few features too, like Thunderbolt 3, the lift and lock keyboard, which sadly is gone in the new X1 Yoga. Don't get me started on that. I'm not happy about it. But let's get this open. Like most ThinkPads, this comes in a basic brown box. Think is the business lineup from Lenovo. The Yoga brand is the premium consumer lineup. And business laptops tend to come in these more basic boxes, and there's a reason for that. Is they're easily stackable. Most people that use a business laptop never see the box that it comes in. I will say that the X1 Yoga is the one that I've seen that actually has a fancier consumer style box. Even the X1 Carbon doesn't. Okay, so here's the laptop right here. Let's see what else is. Got a little bit of safety and warranty guide. Should be a USB Type-C charger. Here's the cable. And there's our power brick, 65 watts, USB Type-C as expected. I'm going to put this back in the box. You know, the truth is that these days, I really just don't end up using the chargers that come in boxes anymore because I have so many. So it makes it easier to send back after a time. Okay, so let's take a look at the L390 Yoga. So the first thing that I noticed is that this thing is a little bit heavy. It starts at 3.44 pounds, which isn't terribly heavy, but it's a little bit heavier than I'd like. The X1 Yoga comes in now at about 2.99 pounds, and that's a 14-inch device, so there's a little bit more weight on this. We're going to see there are two USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type-C ports on the side. They're not Thunderbolt. And like I said, there's no lift and lock keyboard. So that's a feature that I've always loved about the Yoga line, and pretty much all ThinkPad Yogas except the lower end. I don't think the L380 Yoga had it, but that's a feature where the when you fold the display back, the keys actually become flush with the device. For example, I have the 2017 X1 Yoga right here, and you can see there's the keyboard, and when you fold it back, it's flat. Now, what's cool about that is that if you're using it as a keyboard, the keys just don't get in the way. It's one of my favorite features, and it's not on this year's X1 Yoga anymore. They're really cutting it out of old devices, and that's a bummer to me, but it is what it is. And so it's not on this one either, is the point. Okay, like I said, 13.3 inch display is a little bit smaller. It doesn't have the Think Shutter privacy guard up here, which is something that we've seen in some ThinkPads recently. So the thing about this device, though, is that there's really not a whole lot to show. It's a pretty standard ThinkPad design. I mean, they all kind of look the same. They're black. They do have a grayish silver variant, although for some reason, Lenovo sends me so many ThinkPads. They've never sent me anything but a black one. So a couple design changes not design changes, in fact, a couple things that are different from the X1 lineup, because now they look different. The X1 now is a darker shade of black. It has a black ThinkPad logo. You can see this one's still that grayish silver that we've had for years. So this really is, it's kind of like I think of it as an X1 Yoga if you don't really want to pay as much, and that's fine. You're going to find, if I can find it here, we have a pen that's right here, if I can get it out. There we go. So the pen is embedded in the device. I love that feature. I love it on any ThinkPad Yoga has this. There's plus sides and downsides. I love it because it's with you all the time. There's other ways of storing pens. Obviously, there's the magnetic attachment that Microsoft uses where you just kind of snap it onto the side. There's the pen loop method, which is what Lenovo uses in the X1 tablet. I'm not a fan of either of those. With the magnets, they tend to fall off in your bag, and then you kind of have to throw it in your bag. You have to go through your bag, find the pen. I don't like the pen loop because it just gets in the way. I like this. It's just always with you. The pen is always charged. You know, this one's a little hard to get out compared to other devices. But I like it. The downside to it is that it's smaller. Okay, it's a small pen. The good news is that you can get a third-party pen. There's really only... I'm not sure what pen technology this uses. I will find out before I review it. But there's really only two pen technologies that you'll find in PCs. There's Wacom and there's N-Trig, which is the one that Microsoft owns. Okay, so there's loads of third-party pens for both of them. You can see there are plenty of ports, which is great in a business laptop. Like I said, two USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type-C, USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type-A, HDMI. Over on this side, we've got USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type-A and a micro SD card reader, 3.5mm combo audio jack, so it's everything that we need. The body is made out of magnesium and aluminum on the display cover, and then we've got glass fiber reinforced plastic on the base. It actually feels kind of nice. I'm kind of surprised by that because, you know, the premium ones are carbon fiber. Well, the new X1 Yoga is aluminum. You know, all this stuff, I keep comparing it to the X1 because that's that premium product. So with every ThinkPad that you get that's not an X1, it's a step down. So we look at this and we say this is what it doesn't have. We should also look at what it has. It's mil-spec tested, means it's shockproof. It can handle extreme temperatures, all that stuff. It's a pretty rugged machine. So it's strong. It's got Intel Whiskey Lake processors up to a Core i7-8565U. That's a 15-watt quad-core chip. It's the latest that Intel offers. Whiskey Lake is kind of like a second-gen, 8th-gen chip. The first gen was Kaby Lake R, and that's what was in all of last year's models. So it's not a huge performance bump. It's something like 10-15%. At the end of the day, though, this is going to be a great machine. I'm a huge fan of Lenovo ThinkPads because, one, they're renowned for their keyboards. This keyboard, all of them, not just the premium ones, all of them. They have the best keyboards out there from my experience, and I'm gonna be happy with that. I really don't have to test it too much to know because I know already. I've used a million of these things. They're all wonderful to use. Okay, see the bezels a little bigger than I'd like. I think what you're gonna find with this year's X1 Yoga, they really cut down the bezels to make a smaller footprint. That's why they got rid of that lift and lock keyboard. So you're probably gonna see about a similar body size on that as you do for this, which is a 13.3-inch device. Like I said, there's no Think Shutter privacy guard. That was a feature they introduced last year. Like I said, there's also not that much to show. It doesn't have any flashy features. It's a ThinkPad. It's exactly what you'd expect it to be. This is a 1080p display. It says it's anti-glare, and I've had while I love the keyboards on ThinkPads, I've had mixed experiences with the displays. The OLED one, which was on that X1 Yoga that I just showed, was amazing. Dolby Vision's amazing. They have some anti-glare displays that are just matte displays. Those don't look too great, but they're functional. They're very good at not reflecting light. This one, on the other hand, it's very glossy, and it's you know, calling it anti-glare really feels like a stretch, and I've seen that with ThinkPads as well. It's going to be a nice display, but it doesn't feel like it can qualify as anti-glare. So this machine also doesn't have an IR camera. That was one of the big upgrades that they had. Well, last year they added IR cameras for Windows Hello on pretty much all ThinkPads. But they also added Think Shutter, the privacy guard that just goes over the camera. But you had to choose between the two. So you could either have facial recognition or you could have a privacy guard. You couldn't have both. This year they actually added the ability to have both. Sadly, neither of them are on this model. So we just have a webcam, and for Windows Hello we have a fingerprint sensor, which is right over here. Now, Lenovo has been putting fingerprint sensors on their laptops for years. way before Windows 10 was a thing, way before Windows Hello was a thing. It was shipping with like Windows 7. So the fingerprint sensors, I mean, they're kind of mediocre, despite the fact that they've been doing it so long. But it's there. It's better than not having anything at all, especially since there's no IR camera. Personally, I think that IR camera is the way to go. Facial recognition is just natural, where you just put it right in front of you like this, and it just recognizes you and it logs you in. So I mean, the IR camera is optional. That's why I'm talking about it. You can get it on this model. It's just not on the model they sent me. So there's not much else to say about this. So I'm gonna have a review for it in about a month. Like I said, 13.3 inch display, 1080p. Described as anti-glare, I don't really know. Awesome keyboard, no lift and lock, but we have a great backlit keyboard. You know, obviously it's got the ThinkPad track point, the physical buttons above the clickable trackpad, bunch of ports, two USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type C, two USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type A, HDMI, 3.5 millimeter combo audio, magnesium aluminum, glass reinforced plastic, Whiskey Lake, up to 32 gigs of RAM, mil-spec tested so it can handle shock, vibration, I'm reading off a list now, humidity, extreme temperatures, sand and dust, fungus, altitude, solar radiation, explosive atmosphere. So these things are tough. By the way, all ThinkPads are mil-spec tested. It's just, like the thing I'm reading, it says ThinkPad toughness. They're all tough. So that's what this one has. And also, of course, we have the pen that's unreasonably hard to get out. But yeah, this is probably my favorite feature, is just that embedded pen that's just with you all the time. Because I'm not a big pen user. I use it sometimes to take handwritten notes. You'll see me at an event just like this, you know. And also to sign documents, where someone emails me a document, I open up the PDF, open it in Edge, edit, sign it, save it, send it. So much easier than printing, signing, and then, you know, scanning it back in. Ridiculous. But that's it, guys. I'll have a review for this in about a month, so stay tuned for that. I'm Rich from NeoWin. Have a great night.